Jungkook looks down, ashamed. I know what anesthetic means, Mr. Kim. I was just clarifying. Anyway, he exhaled noisily, and Jungkook can feel the man's breath on his own lips, especially where the ointment is applied. The contrasting chill sends shivers throughout the rest of his body. Now, let's put some band-aids on and you can go to sleep, Taehyung, with 2 careful movements, as Jungkook notes to himself, opens several small disinfecting patches, sticking one square on his cheekbone, and another, very tiny one, in the place on his lip where it is most broken. Give the ointment a few minutes for it to fully take effect, the man informs, putting everything back into the box and collecting the trash. Does anything else hurt? Jungkook shrugs his shoulders hesitantly. No. Just a little headache, but I think I just need to get some sleep. Shall I give you a pill? No, no need. Taehyung nods, rising from the bed without another word, and takes the first aid box with him. Then rest. Jungkook feels unexpectedly cold as soon as the warmth of Taehyung's body disappears, and hesitantly looks at the man, when he's already at the door. Mr. Kim. He suddenly calls out. Taehyung turns around. Yes, thank you. Well, for your concern. I really appreciate it. A tiny warm smile, still unfamiliar to Jungkook, blooms in the corners of Taehyung's lips. But he only nods barely noticeably. Take a little rest, baby. You need to sleep. Taehyung disappears behind the door, leaving Jungkook alone with an empty room, dim lights and an overly large bed. The young boy exhales, releasing all the remaining air from his lungs, and falls exhausted onto his back. His head meets the soft pillow and his eyes are directed to the high ceiling. Only the idea that he really is lying in Mr. Kim's bed is already driving him crazy. Lying in his bed and wearing his shirt. No. Lying in his bed, wearing his shirt in his damn apartment, without even knowing what part of New York Jungkook is in right now. The boy can only look at the tiny rare lights of high-rise buildings through the large bedroom windows. It is deep night now, but he doesn't know what time exactly. He only looks at the black sky, covered with a marble web of snowy gray clouds, and wonders how many things happened in less than 6 hours. Half of the night earlier he thought his flatmate will rape and maybe even kill him, and now he's falling asleep in Mr. Kim's bed. A yawn rises from his chest and Jungkook closes his heavy eyes. It'll be nice to just sleep. Finally sleep without thinking about anything else. Jungkook allows himself to put aside thoughts about all the problems at least until morning comes, and the night pulls him into its arms in a matter of minutes. Taehyung is surprised when he returns to the bedroom just 5 minutes after he left to find Jungkook already fast asleep. And, trying not to make too much noise, he takes a few things for himself from the closet and goes to the ensuite. Jungkook is sleeping so soundly that it's unlikely that the sound of water will wake him, but Taehyung still tries to be quick. He just wants to wash the past day off his body, wants to wash his hair and brush his teeth. And then he puts on dark silk pajamas, consisting of pants and a shirt, wipes his hair with a towel, carefully combing it back, and, yawning, returns to the room. An unknown feeling of incomprehensible excitement flutters somewhere inside his stomach as soon as he approaches the bed on the other side of the one where Jungkook is, and pulls back the edge of the blanket, climbing inside. The man lays down a little closer to the middle, deeply inhaling the pleasant aroma emanating from Jungkook, a good soap, freshness and wet hair. Something simple, but so catchy that Taehyung suddenly wants his bed to smell like that as often as possible. He turns his head, looking at the peaceful face of the young boy who is lying on his back, turning towards Taehyung just a little. His chest rises steadily with every inhale and falls with every exhale, and Taehyung wants to touch it to see if his heart is beating calmly. He hesitates only for a few seconds, and then reaches out his hand. It feels good to touch Jungkook's chest, feeling his own shirt under his fingertips. He counts every heartbeat, for some reason making sure Jungkook is absolutely calm right now, and already wants to remove it, when Jungkook, in his sleep, suddenly grabs the hand, turns to his side, and presses it to his chest like a toy. And Taehyung has no choice but to get a little closer and let his boy hold his hand for as long as he needs it. "Good night, Jungkook," the man whispers, leaving a on his head, and closes his eyes, breathing out tiredly. Falling asleep is so surprisingly peaceful, knowing that Jungkook is definitely safe today, because he's next to him. But Taehyung decides to think about these new settings tomorrow, allowing himself to simply enjoy the moment tonight. And only much later, after hours of sound sleep, he wakes up in the morning, feeling an unusual heaviness on his chest. The man lazily opens his eyes. The room is still immersed in darkness, and outside the windows the morning is just coming into its own, causing the cloud-covered horizon to faintly brighten. Taehyung yawns, trying to turn around, and suddenly realizes the reason for his awakening. Jungkook is lying on his chest, having climbed into the shelter of the man's arm, pressing his fragile body to him. A sleepy smile slides across Taehyung's lips, and without even thinking, he suddenly turns on his side, deciding to fully hug the boy with both of his arms. Jungkook frowns faintly, but doesn't wake up. Only purrs something inaudibly through his sleep, and then lies down more comfortably, breathing hotly into Kim's neck. Taehyung closes his eyes again. He has a few more pleasant hours of sleep with Jungkook in his arms. And the only thing he wants is the new day to start just a little never. As much as he wouldn't like it, morning still comes. Early December cold morning. But it's somewhere out there, outside, and in his bed, with Jungkook next to him. It's nice and warm, and Taehyung just doesn't want to get out. However, he still remembers his plans, which, unfortunately, will not allow him to stay. He lies like that for several long minutes. With his eyes he examines Jungkook, who is still sleeping peacefully in his arms, and lazily runs fingers through his hair, which is in slight disarray after yesterday's shower. So soft he just can't stop touching it. But when the man's phone, lying on the nightstand, vibrates quietly again, he lets out a noisy exhale. No matter how perfectly good the second part of this terrible night was, he must end it. Therefore, trying to get out of bed as carefully as possible, letting Jungkook go into the arms of pillows, blankets, and his absence, the man just wants to do everything so that the boy does not wake up and rests as long as possible. And he almost succeeds, but a hoarse, quiet voice still destroys the morning silence of the apartment when Taehyung, getting to his feet, silently stretches. "Where are you going?" the boy mumbles sleepily, without opening his eyes, only feels that something warm has disappeared nearby, and Taehyung turns to the bed with a smile, rests his hand on the mattress and leans towards Jungkook. "Baby, it's still quite early," he whispers, straightening his hair and pulling the blanket higher to cover him. "You can sleep." "Where are you going?" Jungkook repeats again through his sleep. So plaintive and quiet that Taehyung wants nothing more than to just stay. "I have important things to do, baby. But you should rest, okay? It's still really early. Keep sleeping. I have to get up too." Jungkook protests sleepily, and Kim laughs quietly, shaking his head and leaning down a little further to kiss the top of his head. No, baby, today you don't have to. All you have to do is get some rest. And when Jungkook, unable to fight the fatigue that has not yet receded, falls asleep again, Taehyung goes to the bathroom to clean himself up. And then, just as quickly, he changes into a clean tweed suit, puts the watch on his wrist, takes the phone and leaves the bedroom area, tightly closing the heavy doors behind him. His boy really needs to rest. But the same cannot be said about Taehyung, who already has a busy working day ahead of him. He's drinking freshly brewed coffee when his phone suddenly rings. Looking at the screen, the man grins and answers the call. "Good morning, darling. How did you sleep without you in this house?" Mrs. Kim immediately lets out a chuckle. "Nothing new. But thank you for the flowers. For so many years, you have truly become a wonderful husband. You know all the actions in advance." Taehyung rolls his eyes, but still smiles. "I've always been a wonderful husband, Mrs. Kim. You know it. Anyway, are the problems solved?" Taehyung does her take a sip of coffee too. It's funny how, even being apart, they do not change the habits that have become constant in their home over the past 10 years. "Yes, Jungkook is fine and safe now," he nods, even though she can't see it. "He's still asleep. I hope you took good care of him. I don't want to be embarrassed in front of the poor boy for your manners, Kim. You'll never be embarrassed because of me, Kim." Taehyung clicks his tongue. And Mrs. Kim continues, "By the way, a wonderful breakfast I got here in my bed. You know how to make amends. Thank God that this time I was able to do it without New Way lady. The night is young, darling." She laughs relaxedly. "And I'm still interested in finding out the details of what happened. Will you have time to have lunch together between the meetings? I think it's worth discussing." "Yes, of course," the man agrees. "Shall I send a car to your office at 2? "No, I'll be at a meeting in the city, so my driver will bring me." "Oh yes, and about your message at night, can I count on your help? Sometimes it seems that without me you can't do anything at all." She lets out a kind laugh. "But I will not ignore your request. What about the size? Are you sure it's correct?" "I have no idea." Taehyung laughs quietly. "But did you see him? He's tiny, and the shoes I don't know. I guess 6.5, or maybe 7. You guessed." Mrs. Kim snorts. "What if it's wrong? Do you want to make me blush?" "Listen, his sneakers were so old that I could hardly find anything on them except holes and scuffs, not to mention the size. Choose 7. I'll buy him something else later anyway." "Then you should be doing this yourself from the very start, you know," she says indignantly, but Kim knows she's not serious. "Thanks for your help, darling. You know I truly appreciate it. And I trust your taste. It's your luck that I have a free morning. And that I want to spend some time with your boy. Be careful with your words, my love. I know perfectly well what I'm saying," the woman answers contentedly. "Consider this a little warning. I hate it when you're in a playful mood. Yes, darling, I love you madly too."